All right, let's jump right in. Every single business out there wants to know one thing, right? How do they keep you, the customer, coming back for more? But how do they figure out what really makes a difference? Well, today we're going to look at how you can actually measure the hidden keys to customer loyalty.
I mean, think about it for a second. Your favorite coffee shop, that one brand you always go for, the gym you're a member of. What is it that actually makes you stick with them? Could it be the price? Maybe it's the people who work there, or just the product itself, or, is it that special something you just can't quite put your finger on? Look, we all have our reasons, but for a business, just guessing? That's not going to cut it.
And yeah, that is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? How do businesses get out of the guessing game and start actually knowing what keeps you around?
I mean, companies spend billions on loyalty programs, on customer surveys, all these marketing campaigns, and a lot of it is just based on a hunch about what we want. But without real hard data, it's pretty much like throwing darts in the dark and just hoping one of them hits the board.
But what if you could actually measure it? Like, put a precise number on the impact of every single thing. A score that tells you exactly how much the friendly staff matters versus the fancy new equipment, or, even how clean the bathrooms are. Well, guess what? Some researchers decided to do just that.
And to see how this works in the real world, we're heading to a gym. Turns out, it's the perfect place to study what keeps people loyal.
So here's the setup. Researchers went to a place called Zoo's Gym over in India, and they talked to 320 of its members. But here's the key. They didn't survey the newbies. Nope. They went straight to the regulars, the people who'd been members for over a year, who had already voted with their wallets to stick around. And their whole goal was to figure out what parts of the gym experience, the staff, the equipment, whatever, had the biggest impact on their overall satisfaction and what the researchers called attachment.
Yeah, to put it simply, they were on a hunt for the secret sauce. What were the exact ingredients and in what amounts that made these 320 people so loyal?
Okay, so how on earth do you measure something like that? I mean, loyalty is a feeling, right? Well, this is where it gets super interesting. They use this really powerful statistical tool to figure out how important each individual piece of the puzzle was.
It's a concept called effect size, and you might see it written as F squared. Now, don't let the technical name scare you off. The absolute easiest way to think about it is as a contribution score. It's basically just a number that tells you exactly how much one specific thing, like, say, the staff, contributes to the final outcome, like your happiness.
Now, the actual formula, it looks pretty complex, I know, but forget the math for a second. The real genius here is the idea behind it. It's just a super clever way to boil all this complicated data down into one single powerful number.
Here's basically how it works. It's actually pretty cool. Step 1. You figure out the gym's overall customer satisfaction score with everything included. Then for step 2, you do the calculation again, but you digitally pretend one factor just doesn't exist. Let's say you take staff quality out of the equation. Step 3, you look at the new satisfaction score, and step 4, that drop, however big or small, that is the contribution score for staff quality. That's its effect size. See? Simple, right?
So they did this for every single part of the Zeus Gym experience. And after running all the numbers, what did they find? Well, the results were kind of surprising.
Let's actually look at the numbers here. So you can see stuff like the quality of the staff, the workout programs, even the locker rooms. They all had a really, really small statistical impact. Tiny. Even the physical facilities, the building itself, only had what's considered a small to medium impact with a score of 0.05.
So looking at this, you might think, I guess nothing really matters that much. But you'd be wrong. There was one factor that absolutely blew all the others out of the water.
The contribution score for this one single factor was 0.245. Now, just to give you some context, on the scale these researchers use, anything over 0.15 is considered a pretty big deal, a medium to large effect, and this is way, way past that. This was a major driver of what made customers happy.
So what was it? Drum roll, please. It was the workout facilities, the actual equipment. So for this gym, in this specific place with these specific members, the quality, the variety, and the condition of the treadmills, the weights, all that stuff, that was the single most important thing keeping people satisfied.
Okay, so the lesson here seems pretty obvious, right? Just buy the best equipment and you're golden. But it's not actually that simple. Let's dig into the real business lesson here.
I mean, if you were the manager of this gym, you'd probably be thinking, awesome, I'll just pour all my budget into new machines and I can forget about staff training or fixing up the locker rooms. But would that actually be the right move? Well, turns out the researchers had the exact same thought. They wondered what happens to our whole model if we just take out all those little things. So they did. They removed all those factors with small scores, like staff and program quality, from their calculations.
And what they found is maybe the most important lesson from this whole study. To quote directly from the paper, they said that removing the measures has resulted in decreasing the explanatory power of the model. In other words, when they took out the small stuff, their model got worse at predicting who would be a loyal customer. The picture got fuzzier.
So here's the big takeaway. The small things aren't actually small. Even though the workout equipment was the clear star of the show, it needed a supporting cast. That friendly staff, the clean locker rooms, the decent class schedule. They weren't heavy hitters on their own, but together, they built a foundation for the entire experience. They made the big things matter even more.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thought, right? Think about the businesses you're loyal to, your go-to spots. What are the small things they're doing right that you might not even consciously notice? You know, the barista who remembers your order, that super easy-to-use website, the always clean bathroom? Maybe those aren't the small things after all. Maybe they're the invisible glue that holds the whole thing together.